Mm.
We are live. Hello, hello. Hi, y'all. Come on into the room. Come on into the room. How are you doing today? How are you doing today? I am Dr. Triffy. I'm a licensed psychologist in Atlanta, Georgia, who just happens to be in Kyoto, Japan at the moment with my baby girl. And I usually have my Transforming Trauma podcast at this time. And because we've had so much going on in Dominica, I am choosing tonight to explore, examine, share some thoughts, and have a meaningful conversation with Mr. Carlos Charles. Mr. Charles is the leader of Team Unity Dominica, which is the newest party, the newest political party on the scene. And Mr. Charles just also happens to be my nephew. So this is going to be a meaningful conversation. I do these conversations with people to hear people's thoughts and get their input and for us to keep talking because I think talking all the way through to the end offers so many opportunities for solutions and for growth and for change. And all of us are crying out for that right now. So, Mr. Charles, welcome, welcome, welcome. I want to welcome all of you who are tuning in. When you come in, y'all know the drill. Share the live so that somebody else knows that we're on. Yeah, share the live. I am also saying yes, the stars. Facebook has this new deal with creators, content creators, where they're like, yeah, you can ask your people to send you stars if they want to appreciate the work that you're doing. So feel free to send me some stars. All right. So, Mr. Charles, welcome to Transforming Trauma.
Good evening, Dr. Wallace, or should I say Auntie?
You could say both.
Thank you for having me on your program. I,
Yeah.
I I know we were supposed to have met some time back, but you know how it is with these activities. I was involved in the election process, and it was as the newly minted leader of the party, so a lot on me in a short space of time. So it's a bit difficult right now. Um, it's quieted down a bit. Of course, good evening to your many viewers who are both here and abroad, all over the world. Thank you for tuning in to hear what our conversation.
Yes, yes, yes. Thank you. So, um, it is quite an experience for me, right, Carlos, to have the vision of you as the first nephew that I held. So you're the first nephew that I held. You have an older nephew, but because he was not born in Dominica, I didn't get to hold him like that. You're the first nephew that I held. So it's very interesting watching you now as a gentleman. It's a completely different perspective, but I'm very proud of you. I'm very excited to have this conversation. Yeah.
Thank you
So,
very much.
so you're welcome. You're welcome. Well, tell the people, tell me. I am very interested to hear your thoughts on the election. I want to know more about you as a political leader, and I want to give you the opportunity to share that.
But before I go any further with this, I would like to first share my concession speech, which I haven't yet have the opportunity to share with anyone. So you're fortunate that I'm giving you the first knock to receiving it, and after which I will share with the rest of the media fraternity. So just permit me a bit to share this with you guys.
I appreciate that. Thank you.
Fellow Dominicans, I address you on the results of the Dominica general election of December 6, 2022. This concession was actually written before any votes were casted because we knew ahead of time that we would not win, and the entire process tilts in the favor of one party, the incumbent DLP. Fellow Dominicans, results of elections cannot and should not be predetermined in thriving democracies. To concede before a vote is casted confirms that our democracy is unhealthy and needs urgent attention. The system and process of elections must be reformed for dignity and confidence to be restored in the process. Yes, the party led by the Honorable Prime Minister, Mr. Roosevelt Skerrit, did prevail at the polls, but they know, the world knows, we all know that the contest was a one-sided affair and unfair. Team Unity Dominica, TUD, decided to contest so that our voice could be added to the growing chorus which is demanding for electoral reform. We had to attempt to get into the people's government because this is where the people's voice is heard the loudest. We did so against all odds, but we had to stand up for the people. We now await Sir Dennis Byron's much anticipated recommendations on electoral reform, which we believe will ratify the other recommendations, ideas, observations, suggestions, and conclusions offered by Dominican professionals and agencies and the Commonwealth, CARICOM, and the OAS election observer missions, which have advised that urgent and obvious changes be made to our country's electoral processes. The CCJ, in a recent ruling, recommended that the tints be removed from the current system before future elections are held. They were not removed, and we just concluded another elections. Fellow Dominicans, while we voted freely on December 6th, the process could be said to be largely unfair. There is an unfair and imposing number of voters, over 85,000, probably twice as should be on the list of electors. The wanton trafficking of votes into Dominica is unfair. The floating voters, people traveling around the constituencies, voting on others' electors' names, is unfair. The denial of equal access to media, especially in previous elections, to opposition elements is unfair. The overwhelming spending capacity of the incumbent party is unfair. The calling of snap elections, though legal, 2 years ahead of the constitutional due date for, and especially during the time that an election report is being finalized, is unfair. Not allowing the opponents fair time to prepare to contest is unfair. The, the PM going back on his words, the reform should be finalized before the last elections, though permissible, was unfair. Fellow Dominicans, the blurted spirit which hovered over our elections speaks to the unfairness of the system. The turnout of voters was very low. Many of our people are broken and despondent. And if TUD had not stepped up to offer some voters an opportunity to vent, the morale would even be lower. We thank you for voting our party and consequently voting for Dominica's progressive future. We would like to applaud the independent candidates who represented the same spirit of resistance as TUD. Let us speak about a better and more organized and united arrangement as we plan our country's political future. Stand by, TUD will call on you shortly. We commend Mr. Charles and Ms. Paul from the Marigot and Salisbury constituencies, respectively, for winning the election in those areas. We also commend Mr. Nordy and others who braved the storm to contest. I congratulate the other declared winners and those incumbent candidates who won on December 6th. Please use this mandate to strengthen our country's democracy. We hope that those who have received the people's endorsement will serve in and for and on behalf of the people in Parliament. We offer to you our plan, which is designed to kickstart our nation from the many years of political stagnation. TUD is the only party which presented the people with a development plan. So let us work with that plan to help build our nation. And now the elections are over. Now let us embrace each other. It's not going to be easy, but we can try. Please do not give up on Dominica. Let us join hands to preserve our country's democracy and way of life. I pray that love, peace, and prosperity prevails in our blessed land. As we concede this election, We embrace the opportunity to keep working for and on behalf of the people of Dominica who have largely lost hope in an election system that was designed to give us hope. The journey to help preserve our island's democracy and proud legacy of peace and freedom has only just begun. Let us fight on with a united sense of purpose. I thank you all.
Wow, wow. Man, you said a mouthful. I was going to ask you, why did you run?
Well, and this says it all. And this concession speech was written um, before the elections were actually held, because I mean we knew we're going to it's a really mountain battle that we would not have won. So we were prepared for it. But in the spirit of democracy and class, we had to make sure that this was ready, and I was glad to use your platform to share it with everyone.
Phew. That was well presented, Mr. Charles. I see Amma, who's from Marigot, saying another Marigot man. Which you are. Tell us about your Marigot connection and tell us more about the fact that you actually represented Team Unity Dominica in the Marigot constituency. So, what is your Marigot connection?
Um, Margot connection stems from on my father's side. Obviously, you brought up the fact that I'm your nephew, and of course on the cottage side, but I decided to embrace my Margot connection with Team Unity and stand up for the Margot people, because I thought that Margot has largely been ignored over the past couple years. I would endeavor to say decades, yeah, because there's a lot more that I mean some things are being done, but a lot more can be done for and on behalf of the people of Marigot.
Hmm. Well, and who is your Marigot connection exactly? You say your dad is
My
from
dad,
Marigot?
yeah,
Okay.
and I've grown up in you see you know the kind of family we have. So no, I may not have been actively living in Marigot,
Mm-hmm.
but I was practically raised in that area as
Yeah.
well as cottage.
Yes.
So
Yes.
yes, I went to school in town, but every opportunity that I was allowed, you would have to
Mm.
be it that we go to the garden, be it that we go with that to the airport, be it that we go hang out with family up there, and so on and so forth.
Yeah. So you what you're saying is you either you run in the taxi to the airport or you up in
Not
Mountain
not
Views.
no, your company daddy
There you
at the
go.
airport, even from way back when carrying stuff for Liat
Yeah.
with the trucks. You remember those days?
I remember the big yellow truck.
Yeah,
The big yellow truck carrying
yeah.
material, and
And
yes,
bananas with my uncle Juven and other folks.
yes, yes,
And my
yes.
grandmother, Miss Mildred. Everybody knows her as Miss Mildred. Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
I, I, I may go as far back as remembering my great grandmother, Masiris. The older
Mm-hmm.
ones would know her. Yeah.
Yes, I remember my Cyrus. So how did this experience change you or impact you
I
as
don't
a human being?
I don't think it changed me really. I just
Mm-hmm.
had to embrace bring back out the person that was hidden inside. Um the certain people listening to the speeches and see the way that I interact with people. They never knew, Carlos, I never knew you were like that. Like, I've always been a person that I don't have a problem interacting with people.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. So Veronica says, really, Lambi son?
Yes, Lambison.
Lambert Charles is
Yeah.
Carlos Charles's dad. Okay.
Yeah.
Lambi on what is this radio station that Lambi works on a
On,
lot? Oh,
on
he's on there a lot.
yeah, on Q. He's on Q a lot.
He's on Q a lot. Okay.
Yeah.
Well, yes. So my next question for you is why did you say as a young man in a country where there were two established parties and it seemed to be cemented, right? It's the Labour Party and the UWP.
Mhm.
Why did
Traditionally, yes.
yeah? So why did you say yes to a different party? What was your motivation or inspiration for that?
You see, a lot of, how would I put it, persons of my era,
Mm-hmm.
we felt largely ignored by the both the both I would say the both parties. I mean, yes, there are young persons involved in both parties, but in the spirit of actual youth, the millennials
Mm-hmm.
are our interests being represented on the national stage. Largely, it isn't because I can tell you that there are persons, while there are a lot of vexing issues, especially with the electoral reform. Yes, that is a vexing issue. Yes, I agree. It should be done, but that is not a priority for the 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 university student who just came back from the US, the university student who just came back from Cuba. Their priority is getting an actual good paying job in reference to their qualification. And
Mm-hmm.
this largely contributes to the brain drain that we have in Dominica. We also have the way that the country has been run for the past couple of years, and a lot of the things that we would have liked to see done better. Uh,
Like.
in agriculture, for example, yes, some things are being done, but when you look back at in our heydays, when we used to call bananas green gold, and when I
Mm-hmm.
used to leave Goodwill School, Primary School, before, well, it was called Goodwill Junior High,
Mm-hmm.
before they moved it to Goodwill High School, and going home, passing under the cliff on a weekly basis and seeing all those trucks and pickups that the farmers used to have with bananas going out to sell and that we export on a weekly basis. And right now, I'm not saying that we have to go back and depend on bananas solely, but
Mm-hmm.
something needs to be done to bring back the income back into the country, and the over reliance on passports,
Mm-hmm.
it's not helping. And we look at things on a globally, and we're hearing certain countries and are frowning on our CBI program and looking to find ways to clamp it down. We have to find ways to bring revenue into the country.
So you mentioned the brain drain as a big problem you think for the youth. You mentioned
Mhm.
employment. Is that
Yes,
what your
yes,
connection to the
yes, yes,
agriculture is
yes.
about?
Housing
Yeah.
is also a problem.
hmm
Housing is also a problem.
Housing in what way? Housing in what way?
Well, you have first of all, you people a lot of people cannot afford to live at the standard that they would have liked, right?
hmm
Um, because of the cost internationally, prices are being driven up.
hmm
Prices are going up. It's harder for persons to build now.
hmm
Even the banks, even the banks find they have an issue in in generating income. If you look at it,
hmm
how many banks do we have left in Dominica right now? Two.
How many?
Two.
Wow. What are the two banks left in Dominica?
National Bank. Well, sorry. Let me correct that. We have
hmm
three. but
Mm-hmm.
one is about to leave.
Wow.
One is about so.
So what's going to be left?
It's going to be left with Republic Bank and National Bank.
Where's the Republic Bank from? Do you know? Like, what is it? Is it a
Um,
foreign bank?
I think it's last time I did some research about it. It's a Caribbean banking consortium.
Mm, okay.
Yeah.
Any other problems? You mentioned something that made me think about polling, right? As in, you went specifically and you said, well, electoral reform is important, yes, to it's a big issue, but from your perspective,
Give me
housing,
give
jobs,
me 1 second.
yes. Hi, y'all. Thank you all for listening. As we give Carlos 1 second, I'm going to share some of your comments as we do that. Thank you all for tuning in and watching. I'm up. Hi, Paula. How are you? Viva, you are watching. Veronica, who listens to me a lot, didn't realize I had a Marigot connection, huh? Amma says, another Marigot man. We are proud of you. Yes. Hi, Agatha. Agatha is watching. And Kellyanne is also watching. And Carlos is back.
Yes, my
Yes, sir.
apologies.
That's okay. That's okay. A lot of people, Carlos, are telling you that they're feeling very proud of you for taking that step. That is a big step, sir.
Elian, I'm not that old. I'm not that old. I'm still very much a young man.
How old are you, sir? Is that something you're gonna share, or
Well, that is public knowledge. It's on my Facebook. I guess it's all other places. I'm 41 years old.
41 years old? Have you run for office before?
No, not political office, but
Mm-hmm.
I have dabbled in once I attempted going into what do you call it, village council elections
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
many years ago
Mm-hmm.
in Philadelphia.
And what was the big push or pull for you as an individual to say yes?
Um, for me, the representation, so to stepping up, and I mean, when you look at it, you look at persons want things to be changed,
Mm-hmm.
but they're not willing to take the risk because of the fear of being victimized for one or being looked at in a certain way. For me for me I see it, according to another great Dominican. Dominica cannot wait for you to finally get the loan for your business or for your child to go to school, those sort of things. And I commend the other young people who stood up with me in the creation of Team Unity. You understand? A lot has been said about Mr. Bruno, who is our General Secretary of our
Yeah,
movement.
tell me more. Tell me
But
more.
he's he's sort of the guiding hand, helping us in and giving us advice. But we drive the movement. It's young people centric.
Who are the other young people? Who are the other young people in the
Our,
party?
our founders are Kenton Seja, Kendra Stevens, Erwin Emmanuel, and of course myself and Alex.
I think Agatha wishes you had run for Canefield.
I got for you need to come back. You need to come back.
I have a question. You started talking about the CBI
Yeah.
program. And what does Team Unity have a plan? You also mentioned that Team Unity has a development plan. Can you tell us more about that? Like specifics.
Um.
For example, tell us about what are your plans for, say, the CBI program? I know you think it's a positive. So far, what I've heard is that you think it's a positive, but you think given the threats So, there's people do what's called a SWOT analysis.
Hmm.
You look at
Yes,
strengths and
strength,
weaknesses, opportunities.
weaknesses, and yeah,
Exactly.
and threats.
So if we're looking at the CBI program in
Hmm.
that from those lenses, right, perspective, what are the strengths of the CBI program as it stands? What are the weaknesses? What are the opportunities for growth, or what are the
Well,
threats you think?
first off, the plan would not be to cut off the CBI. So I mean, there's a lot being out there in the media circle about the management of the CBI, and a lot of question. Well, I wouldn't want to go too deep into that, but let's
Hmm.
say there's a lot of questionable things related to our CBI program,
Hmm.
and
A lot of people have many questions.
right. So
Hmm.
instead of doing away with it, because so let's face it, Dominica is relying on it to survive. So you
Hmm.
cannot get rid of it.
Hmm.
So it needs to stay for a while. However, we need to start looking at other areas of improving the economy. We have an imbalance of trade in Dominica. We import
Meaning?
more. We import more than we export.
Mm.
Right. The Invest Dominica department, we
Hmm.
will give them a lot more to do and in conjunction with Dexia, because our plan for Dominica would be a more agriculture centric focus. So we plant what we eat, and we
Hmm.
also plant to export for for other persons in the Caribbean and the rest of the world.
Hmm.
You look at places such as Amazon. You have so many. Amazon owns Whole Foods now, right?
Yes. Yes.
You go to Whole Foods and you buy some jelly. Have you tasted the jelly water at Whole Foods?
Yes.
Does it compare to what we have down here? I
No.
sure every time you come down, that these are one of the first set of things you go for. Now
Yes.
now we have a lot of cocoa producers as well.
Hmm.
All those different sort of, what is it? I would say like a niche market product
Yes. Yes. Yes.
can be exported to those places, and they would fetch high returns.
Yes. They're niche and they're very specific to us. They're very
Yes.
indigenous to us. They're
Hmm.
niche and they're also very expensive on the
Right.
world market. So they
Right.
could bring in. I got you.
Th-
I got you.
these we have a lot more people outside. We're talking customer base. Let's talk customer
Yes.
base. We have a lot
Yes.
of Dominicans outside as compared to inside. If we first start with those, Dominicans are largely very patriotic. Um, Miss Tanya Green has something that she does online where she creates little treats and tarts and so on.
Are those the packages that she sends, like the
Yes, yeah,
Dominica, like a
yeah,
care package, the Dominica care
right,
package? Yes, yes.
right. This is something that we can look at to be done on a wider scale.
Mm.
I commend her for this thing. And there's this guy there's this guy from Salisbury. I forgot his name, but he's a farmer. He's also a
Hmm.
young professional about my age, and
Hmm.
he does a lot of those things. I think
Mm.
he exports as well. And I also know some wonderful Dominicans who into the same cocoa that I was mentioning earlier on. And yes, Amma
This
Thomas,
has been a.
I'm aware that our cocoa was ranked very highly in
Hmm.
in, in the world for the quality. And even to add to that, we have a chocolate factory
Hmm.
besides the one that is operational right now. There's another one that was created right in the middle of Layu, right? I know Layo. If you know Dominica, you know Layo has a lot of cocoa. There's a lot of,
Yes.
right. And this is basically, this is dead. So all those kind of things, and let's go to something else that a lot of Dominicans love: chicken. Yes, KV, Kevin Vidal from Salisbury. That's correct. If I was saying about chicken, if we go to something sort of like chicken,
Mm-hmm.
we import millions of dollars in chicken every year.
Mm-hmm.
The government was on the correct track when we had this abattoir built.
Wow.
Yes.
What
Um,
happened?
I, I don't know. I guess it's being mismanaged. I know that it was on the state, and then they put it out for, or to like tender it out for somebody, so outside people could manage it. But
Uh-huh.
without good process, it, am I gone?
You're here. You're here still. Your connection just did a little wonky
Am I
thing,
gone?
but
Am
you're
I
here.
gone?
Can you hear me? Can you hear me? I'll keep Carlos in the stream for a minute as his connection does what it's got to do. But yeah, I remember the abattoir, and I remember one of my brothers becoming very excited about the abattoir, and I think there was pork too. There was a pork situation, like pigs. People were planning to raise pigs, and yeah, I wonder what happened with that. If somebody knows, type it in the chat because those are alternative ways for people to generate money and to increase their self sufficiency. To increase their self sufficiency, which I think is one of my biggest fears for the people is, hey, how are you going to care for yourself if you don't have the opportunity? And and it's not always easy to create those opportunities without support, without higher support. Carlos, you're back.
Yes. I guess the
All
internet.
right, all right. Yes, I was talking about the abattoir idea, and I think there were also like weren't people planning to raise pigs?
Yeah, people do raise pigs in Dominica. As a matter of fact, I think one person I can call on, I think Dr. Tuse. He also
Mm-hmm.
sells he also sells feed as well. I
Mm-hmm.
mean, that's a good idea. But we also have to do more. We have to do more.
Yeah,
Hey, everybody
yeah.
who knows me knows I love my pork. As a matter of but but yeah, we need to invest more in those sort of industries, and look at. I mean, yes, the government is doing. It's a good idea to look at investing in the geothermal um, power, so
Mm-hmm.
we can look at bringing down the cost of production.
Mm-hmm.
But there are also other ways that we can look at bringing down production. Wind energy.
Yes. Yes, yes,
Or
yes.
there's
Yeah.
also there's also a hydro which Dominic is currently using. We can do a little more. I mean, yes, the tropical storm Erica and Hurricane Maria put a little bad taste in our mouth with the our rivers, but there
Mm-hmm.
are there are ways of doing those things safely without having to worry about the effects of those storms.
How about digital? What is Team Unity's plan? What are your ideas for using the digital advancements and opportunities that are available right now?
Well, it's I wish I could pull up
Your
our
plan?
our manifesto, but we did have plans of sort of making internet access, for example, more readily available and at
Mm-hmm.
more aggressive pricing
Mm-hmm.
to island wide, because currently there are still places in the
Communities.
country, yeah, there's still communities in the country that that are not currently being serviced. I mean, yes, the telecom companies are doing a very good job post the hurricanes, and and Enrique, when you come Dominica, we'll have some. Uh, they're doing a very good job in terms of bringing the infrastructure back to where it's supposed to be.
Mm-hmm.
But it's even a lot further ahead because before we had a HFC network, the hybrid fiber coaxial, and now both of those companies, and even right now, Flow is changing their network in Roseau from the twisted pair to fully fiber.
Okay, by Google.
Yeah. So
Mm-hmm.
everybody, everywhere, as much as is reasonable possible, has
Mm-hmm.
access to fiber. But the price, we need to look at getting the prices down.
As in for regular people.
Yes, we need to get it more readily accessible everywhere. We have we talk about doing more online learning, but
Mm-hmm.
but for the family who has a little shanty and they have a child. You know how we grew up. We have a small
Right.
house with a lot of
Right.
people, and it's difficult to have access to everything on the revenue. I mean, and even worse now as compared to before when we had more access to agriculture, the agricultural sector. Right now, it's more difficult for those people, and you have to put, pay for an internet service. I'm not saying
Yeah.
that it should be free, but
Right.
it should be readily accessible at better pricing.
Mm-hmm.
And we can also look at even in the mobile sector, that kind of top up thing. That kind of top up thing. We need to, we need to move away from that. I mean, yes, that's and you have to give mapping TV props and Mr. Ron Abraham for the liberalization of the sector. Even what we have now, if it wasn't for mapping,
Mm-hmm.
the prices would be higher. But when we travel, we see we put a US SIM in our phone and we have unlimited internet. So what we're
Yeah.
not doing in Dominica,
Yeah.
what we doing wrong?
Yeah.
We need to get the internet cheaper landed in Dominica. So all these are plans that Team Unity were thinking of. I mean, yes, all these are in our manifesto.
Where
Uh,
can we get access to your manifesto? Where can we
it,
get a copy?
it's
So
on
do you
our
have a website?
yes, it's on our Facebook page, and
Okay.
and it's available on it's in a PDF form, so persons can go on
Okay.
and page for that. And if you
Do
have
you
any,
have a website? You said
no, not
Facebook. Do you all have a
yes,
website?
no, we have it on Facebook, a Facebook
Okay.
page for now. We have not yet done it. Theory is less than 6 months old.
I know. I agree. That you all just kind of popped up on the
Yes,
scene. Yeah.
and to have contested a general election, I mean,
Right.
yeah,
Right.
credit credit
Right.
to
Right.
the team behind us. Though small, we did the best with the limited resources that we have.
So, what are your next steps as you have had to rush into? You were barely formed. You were in the process of forming, feeling
Mhm,
out yourselves, and the snap elections were called, and you all
mhm.
made the choice to have the experience of running elections, campaigning, and running elections. What is the team's next steps? What are your next steps?
Well, right now is we must do a postmortem
Hmm.
following the elections, so we can look at where we went wrong, what we would like to do better, and so on and so forth.
Hmm.
And after that, I mean, the elections are over. We,
Yes.
so the process, the process of coming together, we have to encourage everybody. Let us work together. We have a government in place. I mean, and it's common knowledge that they ran an election without a manifesto. The,
Hmm.
the Prime Minister has acknowledged that he saw our manifesto and is willing to take on board some of the plans that we have put forward to the Dominican people.
Hmm.
And we 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 anticipate. having discussions with him as to our vision for a better Dominica. If he's willing to take on board some of our recommendations, we'll be happy,
Mhm.
and I'm
Mhm.
sure Dominica will all be better as a result of that. And yes,
What? Go
we
ahead.
also growing the party. We are newly formed party, so we also have to focus on growing the party because
I was going to
this
ask, how are you?
yeah,
What are you all going to do? What are your plans for how you will do that? Who's your target? Who's your avatar? Is the word, you know what I mean? Like your who are you looking to draw into the party?
everybody
That's a
everybody
that's a
team,
good
team,
question. That's a good
team,
response.
community is largely a unity party. You cannot, I tell people, you cannot push people away and expect to attract them to join your cause. So
Mm-hmm.
we listen to everybody, and we engage with everybody, and we're willing to talk to anybody. And as long as the discussion can be reasonable, and we can find a common medium, we can find ways to work together.
I think I was listening to Mr. Bruno once, and you can correct me if I'm wrong or help me understand it better. He described your leadership style of the party in such a way that there was no one leader, or there's something about or maybe in the beginning.
There's no I in team. Team unity is
Hmm.
essentially a team.
Hmm.
Persons who are in the background helping the party, all
Hmm.
the members, you may not hear of everybody by name, but everybody makes a contribution as to even as to the preparation of our manifesto. We 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 if you notice, when we were being formed, we had a manifesto fact finding mission. So we went about the island, we're talking to different people and get their inputs as to what they think, how they think things should be done, and we together put that together. So of course, with the guidance of Mr. Bruno, who is more knowledgeable in terms of those things that some of us.
And as you say that, as you talk about that, I know that Mr. Bruno is a political scientist who's done many polls and uses data to
Yes,
help
yes,
guide movement. Did Team Unity
yes.
do any polling that
Yes,
you
we
have any
do.
results? Maybe that a question I need to ask Mr. Bruno specifically, or what did you all find out maybe that you're aware of that might be interesting for us to
Well,
know?
in terms of the specific details of the polling,
Hmm.
I may not want to go into that,
Hmm.
but yes, we did polling, and that the science guided our decision making process.
Okay. I must say I appreciate that because I appreciate evidence and numbers, a lot versus just intuition and thinking, yeah, let's do this. Yeah, let's do that. Yeah, that's what the people want when perhaps that's not what the people really want when you
And
talk to.
and and if you pay attention, the Dominica Labour Party uses science, and the
Absolutely.
prime minister alluded to that. So yes,
Absolutely.
he does ask the people. They have people who do polling, and they feel the pulse of the people, and they do that on a regular basis.
Hmm.
So
Hmm.
so so yes, you have to find out what the people really want. And if you do that on a regular basis, it helps in terms of your leadership style. It helps in your decision making process, and guide you to move the country forward.
I appreciate that. Um, what are some plans, maybe, or thoughts you have as you all move forward that you want to share that I haven't asked you yet?
Maybe a bit too early to say, because we haven't done our postmortem as yet,
Got you.
but we will want to have for sure a full 21 slate at the next general elections.
Hopefully, it's not next week.
I don't think he'll do that. He wouldn't go back on his word twice. He wouldn't go back on his word twice.
I had to say that because that was one of the funniest things, comments I read. It might have been Sam, it might have been you. Sam said, "Man, look, PM liable to call an election next week if he
Hey,
doesn't like the result."
it is his prerogative. He can call it whenever he wishes, and it may not be ethical. It may not be
Yes,
ethical, and we don't agree to it. But
yes.
he
Yeah,
can
but
still
it will
call
be
it.
legal and you can still do it.
Yes.
So, yeah.
So if he calls it whenever, we just have to stay ready. We
Yes,
just have to
yes,
stay ready.
yes. How can young people, how can citizens connect with you guys as team, with
For,
your party, your team Unity?
for now, we have our Facebook page. That's
Hmm.
where we do most of our engagements. We have weekly engagements on our page. Prior to the elections, we had a program, a roundtable discussion, and I think that will continue after going forward.
What day and time?
Sundays at 3 p.m.
Okay, Sundays at 3 p.m. On
Yes,
your Facebook page, you'll have
Facebook
a
page.
roundtable discussion.
Yes, Team Unity Dominica.
All right, very nice. All right, now this is a little bit more personal. What was your? I do this with my kids. I used to do that with them a lot when they were younger.
Yeah,
Like the day, based on an experience, I would want them to tell me what was their peak experience. What was their peak? What was the peak part of that experience? And I don't know if I lost you again. I think I maybe lost him. Let me see. He'll come back. He'll Somebody need to work on the internet situation in Dominica. Okay. Hopefully he comes back because I want to know what him as an individual, a young man who steps up and who says yes to this very big task, big experience. um, what was your highest point in there as a human being? What was your lowest point? What was the darkest point for you? And I want to know some of y'all's highest. I asked that question yesterday. What was the peak? What was the most hopeful part or moment of these elections for you? And what was the darkest part? Because as a people, we have to do post-mortems, we have to debrief, we have to come down off of the high. I feel like many of us stay in the high of elections and we don't give ourselves an opportunity to come down. And so that, I don't think that's healthy. I think that has contributed, and it contributes to a lot of ongoing pain because we're not willing to, like take it down a notch. It's too much stress on the system. If as an individual you're always high or you're always low, that's too much stress on your system. So Dominica, the country is a living thing. It's the same thing. So Carlos, you're back.
Ma-
I was asking about your pit.
yeah,
Tell me the low point first, the lowest point, and then tell me the highest point.
boy. Some of those things I may not want to publicly divulge them, but
Maybe you can say it in a general way.
yeah, but in terms of, you know what people want, and the process is necessary to do it. But the fact that people were so afraid to step up to represent their country, to me that was, yeah, it's kind of appalling. I mean, yes, a lot of people want things to be different. A lot of people, but some people not ready for that to happen right now. But you have you the train is, it keeps moving. You cannot you cannot wait for everybody. And in terms of the highest points is in talking to persons on the ground and feeling and getting to know the people, um, getting to see their everyday life. Getting the lady on the road who is selling her plying her ways for waiting for somebody to pass and stop to buy some of the provision that she would sell. The guy
Mm-hmm.
who was on his way to the garden and he happened to stop and talk to me. The boys on the block, the boys in the shop,
Mm-hmm.
and yes, you advised me to not go in those rum shops, but I have to. I have to. That's what.
You can go, just don't make a poster and say we go in bar hopping. Just-
Yeah,
yes.
and for me as well is seeing how people let politics divide the country,
Mm-hmm.
and I think we are so much better than that. I mean, yes, everybody has their vision for what they want to see happen,
Mm-hmm.
but at the end of the day, we are all Dominicans. We
Yes.
live on this small rock, and
Yeah.
everybody wants to see the place better.
Yeah.
So why can't we all work together? You may like fish, and I like my pig,
Yes. You like your
and
pork.
and and we having a dinner party. Why can't we, have different options for everybody?
Yeah.
Let's all work together and move the country forward.
Yeah. Yeah.
So I can
Yeah.
tell you will not see Team Unity calling anybody names in terms of bashing. What I mean, largely we haven't been bashing anybody, or even when we do our engagements, we try not to make reference to any person.
Yes.
It's even written in our bylaws that we don't not only slander but talk negatively in derogatory ways to persons. So you won't see any member of the team doing that kind of thing publicly.
I noticed that about the way you all would speak. There was no name calling.
No,
I noticed that.
no, no.
Mm-hmm.
Which,
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. Um, well, let's take a few more questions as we start wrapping up. I'm so grateful to you for spending your hour with me. Time is going by fast. Patricia, who's from Cottage outside, says, I think Mr. Charles needs to start doing things in the different communities for people to know he's actively engaged.
and
What
that
do
will
you,
be done. That will be done. We have already started looking at some programs that we want to do
mm-hmm.
um, during this term of the next government, and and continue presenting ourselves to the Dominican people.
Yes,
So
yes.
there, I of course have to start in my area of interest. So I've
Which
already,
is?
I mean, Marigot. So I of course have to start in that area. So
Gotcha.
I've already started looking at areas, and I would love to work with the current parliamentary representative. Congrats to him on
Yes,
winning the process. But yes, to do certain projects around the country so people can, well, not just know of Team Unity, but to start impacting the lives of people in a positive way.
absolutely. Absolutely. You mentioned the new parliamentary representative, the independent candidate, who's also a Mr. Charles as
Yes.
well.
Yeah,
Hmm.
we met and we spoke during the campaign, and on the day of elections we met
Hmm.
as well. Cordial. I mean, I think there are pictures of us in the social media space.
That's very good. That's very good. That's very
Yeah,
good.
yeah. But I wish him well in his term representing the people, and I
Hmm.
hope that he does best for the Marigot people. It's my understanding that he did do some representation on the council level, so that may have given him a leg up in terms of
I
representation.
got you. Right.
Yeah,
You know, what you call it? I think I might have seen a comment. Ron, is that you? Ron said it would be a great idea for you to serve on the local level, such as on the village council, and is that the credit union,
yeah.
Margaret Credit Union, as you pursue your
Um,
ideas for the national
yes,
level. What do
and
you?
all these are good ideas, but
Mm-hmm,
not totally necessary. And
mm-hmm,
I don't think it's a good idea because right now I am a politician.
mm-hmm.
It's not a good idea for me to place myself as a politician and be part of the credit union mo- movement and being a board member or whatever.
Tell
I
me,
don't think
tell,
it's a
why
wise
not?
idea
Why do you think not?
because you're a politically exposed person. It's,
And
it would be better that you leave that for persons who are not involved in politics.
do you think a lot of our people are not realizing that? Do you think that we, or is that a problem you see in the country? Is that
Yeah,
we have problems
that,
there?
that is a problem that I have identified. I see a lot of people allow their politics to influence the way that they do business,
Hmm.
which is also the reason why I think a lot of victimization takes place. So
Absolutely.
yeah, so if you if you're close to the politics, stay away from
Yes.
that. Stay away
Yes.
from those areas. Allow persons who can be more impartial than you to do what they have to do. I mean, yes, I could have started on a village council or somewhere else, but my start doesn't have to be the same as somebody else's start. So I choose to do it a different way. So
Yeah. You. Yeah.
yes, I lost my deposit. I knew there was a strong chance that I was going to lose it,
Hmm.
but it matters not to me. The
Yes.
I see on those on the results. There's one result I see I got 91. There's another result I see I get 6, and in the
Hmm.
final count I got 6. But it could
Hmm.
be one vote that one
Yes.
person wants me to come to Marigot and represent them.
Yes.
One will turn to two, and two will turn to 1,000. So
I think I've noticed that with these elections, right? That uh, a lot of people are very, very married to winning and just winning, and maybe not always thinking about the other ways we win.
mm,
Because is it a win that you participated? Is it a win, like you said, that somebody said yes? I would like for this person to represent me. Is it a win? What are you calling a win from this experience?
it could be one vote, 100 votes, 1,000 votes, or a million votes, which is kind of impossible because Marigot
Yeah.
doesn't have up a million voters. But
Hmm.
it's a win. The mere fact that I offered myself as a viable alternative to what was available going into the elections, it seemed clear that we were going to have only the Labour Party presenting themselves to the people, and that's not a democratic process. You need to give people an option. People have to have the right to choose who they want their elected representatives to be. So you may not like me, you may not like the other Charles guy, you may not like Mr. Rivera, or you may like any one of us. Simply your choice, and
Yeah.
in the other constituencies as well.
You're
You
talking about equity and
yes,
choice and
yes.
options. Yes, yes,
So I commend all the other independent candidates, guys like Maggie, Buju, and the other young lady
Cairo. Yeah.
who won in Salisbury and so on. The young
Hmm.
lady from Portsmouth who stepped up.
Eva Vidal.
Yes, I commend them for stepping up and providing an option to their people. It
Yes.
shows that democracy is alive in the country and persons want to see things happen differently.
Yes. Connell's point. Hey, Connell, Takafet, says it
Right.
makes you high risk to
Makes you high.
financial.
Right.
institutions as a politically exposed person. Plus,
Yeah.
it puts you, the individual,
Mhm.
in a position of having potential conflicts of interests and
Mhm.
making it hard for you to be impartial, like you said. That's a big problem I think we have to address.
Not just
And
Dominica.
not just Dominica.
Not just
The
Dominica.
thing about it is we have to address it, I think, in a way where we set up policies that we do follow through on to safeguard not
Mhm.
just the person, but the system. Because if
Yes.
we don't, then the system gets hurt, and then people cannot trust the system anymore. And then we all lose. And we all lose.
I mean, guys, I see the comments on the screen, but if Auntie doesn't put it up, they associate bigger. Yeah, because I
Let's see. Yeah, so Connell says in the US, we flag these accounts as high risk because they are, because we're human beings. And so, it's hard for us to always stay on the straight and narrow, to
Mhm.
remain ethical, legal, and moral. That's why we have to be checking each other, or we have to have policies and rules in place that we implement
Mhm.
to safeguard everybody, to safeguard everybody.
So yes,
Well,
all politicians need to be protected, and
they do.
our people also need to be protected. So
Yes.
those things need to be in place.
And that's where I feel like we have messed up badly, and I hope we begin again to address those issues to make the system feel safer even for the politicians, because I think to myself, if you're a politician and you have a soft heart, people could run through you.
And take advantage of you.
Yes.
Carlos is nice, but Carlos not soft. So,
And
so,
that's the thing. Yes, I like that about you. I know that about you, and I like that about you. I
so
appreciate that about you.
um, after living but I mean, my experience with some bikers there, yeah, and you know in that world, it takes all kinds.
But talk about the biking. Talk about the biking. All right. I wanted to know one of your big hobbies or some of your
Yeah,
hobbies. You,
well,
you mentioned the bike.
I haven't been able to ride in a little while, but the people it's been put out there that Carlos finished his bike. No, Carlos not finished his bike.
You know how people, we like to just say stuff. We just like to assume and we
Carlos not
run
finished
with
his
it.
bike. 'Cause I got involved in this biking thing a couple years ago. And I was telling a joke, your sister never told you about that?
Tell me.
One Saturday morning, Carlos, well, I bought my first bike. Um, well, okay, my second bike. Let's start from the beginning. It's been a
When
while.
did you start riding? Start when did you become a biker? First
Hold
off.
on, hold on, hold on. It was long, long time ago, early 2000s, that I bought my first bike. I was
Okay.
paying the guy for it, and then I don't know what word came to your sister that her son was buying a bike.
I remember that part.
She told me, I hear you buying bike. Go and bring it back. Go and tell the person to give you back your money. My child was going on no bike. So I had to go back to the gentleman, sir, I'm sorry. I I really want the bike, but yeah, getting some pressure there from my mother, so I can't take it. He gave me back my money and moved on. Years passed. Then one day I got a windfall on a project I was doing, and I decided, say, this time I go and buy my bike. I don't tell nobody that. Even some of my friends were angry at me for buying the bike because they found that bike, Carlos, you could the money you spent, I could have gotten you a much better bike for that money you spent. But I didn't care. I wanted a bike for me to learn to ride. I don't want to go and practice on some because a bike is a sensitive thing. You don't want to learn on somebody bike and then you go and throw it down, you mash it up, and
Right.
then you have to fix it. That you
Right.
don't have one, you're fixing somebody else one, and you don't have to say, you know what? I buy my bike. So I go and I purchase the bike, keep that secret. Then one Saturday morning, the guy, the owner of the bike, the previous owner, he rode it home for me, and then I push it in there. You know, we had the dog in the yard. So
Yes.
I push it in. My mother come. I hear bike come there. I don't say nothing. Carlos, Carlos on his bike. Right? Carlos, you buy bike. No, you know Lambi already. He come there, he see the thing inside, he see it in the yard, he watch it. Hmm, take your money and buy bike. I get a good fire. But by that time, I have it
The
already
thanks to
there.
be delivered.
It there already. I couldn't ride it. Every couple of days I coming outside, I put it in neutral. See me on YouTube, learning to learning to ride on YouTube. Then I go outside, okay, let me look for the neutral now. Let me look for the neutral. See the neutral light come on, I start that. Boom, 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 boom. Then until one of my friends brought me and taught me how to ride. It actually took me two lessons really to get the hang of it. One, he brought the bike to Petro Carib area,
Hmm.
spent 15 minutes with me. And the next time he came, he told me, Father, I said, but you come with your bike, where your car? He said, Father, we riding, And and I was riding the bike from Kinfield to Rosal. It
Very
was a good
nice. Very
experience,
nice.
and it grew from there. And
Hmm.
I must say it was a nice experience going to St. Lucia on a few times that I went there.
What
And
did you go for? The bike? Tell us more. The
yes,
bike convention or
it,
bike
it
something?
every independence,
Hmm.
it's the St. Lucia motorsports community have they invite riders, not just bikers, but
Hmm.
the cars. They
Yes.
also have boats. Somebody's at
Somebody wants you a lot.
my door. Hang on, hang on.
Yeah, go see who's there. This is quite an interesting interview, y'all. Um, yes, Cornell, that point you made, it's very important, eh? It's very important. I As we talk about victimization and people reporting high levels of victimization, especially when it comes to things like getting loans so they can build, getting loans so they can create their businesses, and meeting with a lot of resistance sometimes from people who are there who might be too connected to their politics, and so they end up making emotional decisions, and they're keeping people away from creating the lives they're trying to create for themselves, and to build their families up. I think that's important, that we keep people who are so connected to the parties. We have to do a better job in setting up policies that protect these people, because what ends up happening is that person will compromise themselves, thinking sometimes they're doing something that's good by denying somebody who has a different political affiliation a mortgage, a loan, and that causes so much pain. And we've been doing it for a long time to each other. I think it's time to stop. I think it's time to stop. Yes, Carlos. So you were talking about the competitions in St.
It's a
Lucia.
notion, and incidentally, this is I would say a high income earning period for
Opportunity.
St. Lucia,
Absolutely.
and
Yeah.
we saw that, and we would love to see that happen in Dominica, and this is something that we have always been speaking about, try to advocate for. I mean,
Mm-hmm.
it compares to our Creole festival,
Mm.
compares to our Creole
Wow.
festival.
Yeah.
So the amount of people that in Dominica for our Creole
Festival.
festival weekend. Same thing happens in St. Lucia. So we would
Wow.
like to see some similar um, activities happen in Dominica. I mean, there were some moves to to make that happen. I'm not sure where it is. Well, right now, I'm not in the club anymore. I've moved on. But I would have loved to represent for that community on that
Mm-hmm.
level in government. Um,
Mm-hmm.
for now, it's not to be, um, but I will continue advocating for that for that community, which
Yeah.
who are also largely my friends, and and
Mm.
and we would like to see those.
Yeah.
It's a high income opportunity for it. No, it's not just fun.
Yeah.
When you look at it, the amount of boats that come in for for um for that time from Martinique, Guadeloupe, and so on. Those guys also bring in the off-road buggies
Mm-hmm.
to do off-road competitions. And Dominica is largely a place that
All
this
terrain vehicles. Yeah.
that can be set up very easily.
Yeah. Yeah.
And interestingly, at on one of those competitions, when we took part, one of the Dominicans broke the course record.
Oh, really?
Yeah, so it shows that we have the potential in,
Potential.
yes, and if we embrace those things, these are all areas that can bring in revenue to the country. So think of the
I agree.
Airbnb, think of the rentals,
I agree.
the restaurant owners, the bars and nightclubs,
I agree.
all those who spill over, and not even mentioning the regular things like the supermarkets and so on. I mean, it's it's a given.
Well, Mr. Charles, I want to tell you thank you for saying yes to having this meaningful conversation with Dr. Triffy.
Mhm.
Of late, these people, they called me Dr. Tripping, and I
Doctor
said, you know what,
tripping.
I appreciate it.
When you printing the shirt now,
I'm ready. Look, I'm working on it. I'm working on it.
I rock that shit. Doctor tripping.
That's right. That's right. Because we have to embrace all of who we are. I don't think it's an honest way to live. You mentioned that earlier when you said people were like, "Oh, I didn't know that about you." Well, we are everything, and there are times when certain parts of ourselves have to show up to help us move through this life. So it's about acknowledging those parts, appreciating those parts, and using them when you need to use them. So as we wrap up, what are your final thoughts? What are your final thoughts?
Well,
Cards?
my my thoughts are not going to be final. Things are always going to be evolving because this is not
Yeah.
the end for me. This is just the
Mhm.
beginning, and I intend to work with my team as we seek to grow this movement into something bigger, and
Mhm.
also look forward if they accept to talking to the various stakeholders, not limited to the independent candidates who went up. We always said that we would talk to everybody who's interested in building a coalition. So everybody who wants to see things happening differently. For
Mhm.
one, I just want to re-emphasize that the elections are over.
Yes, yes,
So
yes.
let us look to working together to building something, making our country better. So yes, whoever that the prime minister decides to be his cabinet moving forward, and
Hmm.
whoever I have to talk to, I've already started. I mean, he invited me to the swearing in ceremony yesterday, and
Hmm.
also he also invited all of the persons who participated in the elections, because the
Hmm.
independent candidates as well have ideas that they
Absolutely.
right. So everyone has ideas. Ideas are not resident in one person.
Hmm.
We need to work together to s- make everything work and
Absolutely.
build our country.
Yes. Well, y'all, I appreciate y'all for showing up. and participating and listening. I'm going to use my girlfriend's last comment.
Thank you,
I
Mark Libla. Shout out to you, my
love you,
friend,
man. Yes, yes,
my
yes.
friends over there in St. Kitts and Nevis, Enrique over there in the UK, and everybody who reached out. I don't want. I mean, I must touch some people, but I cannot. I don't want to make some people feel left out. But of course, I don't say big up to my team, the TUD people who are behind the scenes working, or always
Mhm.
giving some positive feedback, some critical feedback, and if you have been following the various speeches that I give, I encourage persons to criticize us. So you talk bad about us. That is exactly what I want.
Yeah,
So,
that's what you
so
need.
yeah, I want that so we can know where we have to fix what,
Hmm.
so we can get better. So yes,
Hmm.
we encourage everybody who wants to reach out to us as well. Reach out to us. We are engaging.
Yes.
Um, oh yes, we have people in Zikat Portsmouth as well.
Kiana said your people in Zika so okay, I was going to end with Margaret, but look, Sweet Laura tell you good vibes,
Yes,
buddy.
we
All
rock.
right. Yes.
Rocky, what's up?
So yeah, y'all, thank you all so much for tuning in and talking with us. We have to keep talking. Some of the talking is going to be painful, and some is going to be like sugar. That's just life. But as you're saying, Mr. Charles, and as our Prime Minister, as the head of the country, is inviting all of us to do, it's an opportunity for us to reset, put all hands on deck, and let's create together the things we say we want to create. Okay? And we're going to
Yes,
disagree. We know that. We're going to disagree on how we're going to do it, why we should do it, and all of that stuff. But we have to keep Dominica first and foremost in what we are trying to accomplish.
I see someone who called me out there. I guess he was late to the discussion. That is
What did he
that's
say? You want to answer him?
W.R. Charles.
Oh,
William R. Charles. That was
another
my
Charles.
Yes, that was my former boss at Mapping. And no,
Oh,
no, yes, and he held my hand as I was moving up the ranks in the company, and gave me a lot of guidance before he left, and we all moved on from that.
yes, yes, yes. All right, y'all. Have a good rest of your Thursday night. It is my Friday well, it's my
Friday
Friday
morning in
morning
Japan.
for me.
Friday
What
morning
time
in
is it,
Japan.
y'all? Look, it is 10:17 a.m. Okay?
Yeah, I see Campi.
Campy's everywhere. He everywhere. The man with me everywhere. We going. Let's go, bro. All right, y'all. Have a lovely, lovely rest of your night. Okay, y'all. Peace.